let's check this out.
Is this really where you want to spend the rest of your life?
You know I don't.
Then this is our only ticket out of here.
Oh, what was that?
What's happening?
There's something in the water.
What do you mean there's something in the
I don't know,
water?
there's just something in the fucking water.
Ugh! Sucking that thing's meat.
Fucking thing's hunting us.
Open the door, come on.
Run.
Ah!
Are you sure you want to do this?
Oh, that was sick. Hold on, let me see that alien one more time. Ugh. It's got the little head inside his mouth. Oh, that's fucking crazy. I hope this one is actually like a scary type of movie, like horror. Just the others are too sci-fi-ish. It would be nice if it was horror, like actual scary shit, you know? Um, but yeah, was there any other trailers? Any other trailers? Oh, look, new rock stars. They actually break
Welcome
this shit
back to New
down.
Rockstars. I'm
Fuck
Eric
yeah.
Boss, and the trailer for Alien
Eric
Romulus
Boss.
might be my favorite film trailer thus far in 2024. A perfectly edited teaser
up a little
offering us only the horror vibes and tones,
Ugh,
with hardly
wait,
anything in the plot.
what the
Between
fuck?
teaser offering us only the horror vibes and tones,
Uh.
with hardly anything in the plot. But do we need spoilers right now? No! Alien 1979 and Aliens 1986 are two of my
See, I
favorite
love
films
the
of all
old movies.
time. I did in-depth analyses of both of these on the Deep Dive channel, and Alien Romulus as a film set between the events of both of these films coming August
Oh.
16th. Our first Alien franchise film in 7 years since Alien Covenant in 2017. This film
Yeah, I
has
didn't like that
quickly
one.
leapt up as one of my most anticipated films of the year. So please indulge me as I break
Yes, sir.
down every
What, you
little
got
detail
me?
of
You got
this
something
trailer,
for me to react
explain
to?
why it's so great, break down the intricacies of the Alien universe timeline, and just generally cover anything you might have missed from this. Here we go. So the trailer opens with this shuttle passing the rings of a planet toward a larger space station or craft of some kind. Its octagonal hatch has on the door the W with the inserted triangles of a Weyland-Yutani logo. Weyland-Yutani, of course, the evil corporation in the Alien franchise that just sends everybody to their deaths. You can see some text printed on the side of the shuttle that's in shadow, so it's a bit out of focus, harder to make out, but beneath the two lines of that text is another Weyland-Yutani logo, and then on the red orange portion of the shuttle's
Regular
base
old
is the
Fortnite,
number
dude.
98, but I think the code might be
I mean, dude,
798
you got a lot of people
because
watching you
with
on
the backside
Fortnite,
of the
dude.
ship
Not gonna lie. But I need to find a game to fucking play on here. I'm thinking about doing some GTA RP later, but we'll see. I don't know if, you know,
Thus, you can see
me
that
and
the
you're gonna
number
do
begins
something
with
later.
7. So director Fede Alvarez confirmed that the Alien Romulus film takes place between the events of the first Alien, which is set in the year 2122 AD, and the second film, Aliens, which is set 57 years later in 2179 AD. In those intervening decades, while Ellen Ripley and her cat Jonesy were in cryosleep on the Nostromo escape shuttle, the Weyland-Yutani Corporation continued to terraform and colonize the moon named Acheron, later named LV-426, which contained the wreckage of the crashed derelict ship explored by the Nostromo crew, where in the first Alien film directed by Ridley Scott, Kane was infected by a facehugger and led to the calamities of that film. But then in Aliens, directed by James Cameron, 57 years after that, Ripley is discovered and then prosecuted by the Weyland-Yutani Corporation for destroying the Nostromo ship and all of its goods, and they don't believe her story, but they actually do, those pieces of shit. But Ripley ends up going back to LV-426 with Colonial Marines after Burke had sent some colonists
mute
of
my damn
Hadley's
phone,
Hope out
Jesus.
to the derelict to gather samples, and the Hadley's Hope colony
Yeah,
shortly
no,
after that went to shit.
I gotta just
Now, in
find
the
some other shit
extended
to play
director's
right
cut
now.
of Aliens,
GTRP,
James
it's cool,
Cameron included a
but it
sequence
does get
showing the
boring at
Hadley's Hope
times, just
colony
depending if there's
before the infection.
actual people on the fucking game. X-Defiant, I'm liking right now because it's Call of Duty. I just don't want to fucking buy Call of Duty, dude. That shit's like another $60, and I'm just not gonna rebuy it. That shit's insane. But yeah, I might play some Fortnite later tonight though, for sure.
With colonists terraforming LV-426 with massive atmosphere generators and families living there. In the Alien movie timeline, the main events of Prometheus.
Yeah, Prometheus, I did not like. That shit was, I don't know, very boring. It's a slow burner movie
Are
for
set
sure.
long before this in around 2093 to 2094, and the main events of Alien Covenant happened 10 years after that in 2104. So with Alien Romulus, we're back to like a generation after that in the decades after the Nostromo incident in 2122, but before when we see Hadley's Hope in 2179. Basically, this story is what Weyland-Yutani did to these poor people while Ripley was sleeping. And since it involves facehuggers and xenomorphs, it means that Burke knew what he was risking when he sent out Newt's family to the derelict. That guy's such a piece of shit. So the director Alvarez told the Hollywood Reporter that when he watched the Aliens director's cut scenes of the kids playing on Hadley's Hope, he thought, quote, wow, what would it be like for those kids to grow up in a colony that still needs another 50 years to terraform? There's no sunlight and there's no real life except to just take the place of a parent and do the same job they did. So when I saw those kids, I remember thinking, if I ever tell a story in that world, I would definitely be interested in those kids when they reach their early 20s and what they want to do and where they want to go. And when it comes to having them encounter the creature, the dynamics are completely different. So this movie's title is Alien Romulus, and in Roman mythology, Romulus was the legendary founder of Rome, brother to Remus. Both these twins born to the Roman god of war, Mars, and then raised by wolves along the hills overlooking the Tiber River. And then, according to legend, the brothers disputed on the site of the city they would build. Remus seen 6 vultures on Aventine Hill, and Romulus seen a flight of 12 over Palatine Hill. And then Romulus, or one of his followers, killed Remus and had it his way. If Remus won the fight, it would have been called Reem. So the word Romulus might be connected to Weyland-Yutani's operation to build this new civilization, building better worlds by terraforming LV-426 and giving it a breathable atmosphere. This massive structure that the shuttle is flying toward might be like a phase 1 terraformer or an atmosphere generator, and they've codenamed it Romulus, and maybe there's a second one on another moon codenamed Remus. Its structure does remind me of the oil refinery platform that the Nostromo towed in the first movie. Thematically, really, the name Romulus is just a reference to the fact that no new industrial advancement in the human race can be made without the spilling of blood. This structure is orbiting a planet with rings, you'll notice. While LV-426 does not have rings itself, it does orbit the gas giant named Calpamos, which does have rings. And so we might here be seeing the rings of Calpamos in this opening shot. And a reminder that this is a binary star system, so in the first corridor on the space station on the main level, the passing light through these shutters could be coming from 2 stars. And that might be why they need shutters, because they are outside the atmospheres with little shielding, with the potential of being blinded by 2 different suns. And it's interesting that we start on this sanitized white-walled level and then shift suddenly to the lower engineering corridor that's dirtier and looks more like the Nostromo. And the camera dollies back and we hear the iconic screech of the sirens from the first Alien film. This was a predominant sound effect used in the classic film teaser, one of the best film teasers of all time.
Oh.
Ridley Scott actually brought the sound effect back for the trailer for Prometheus. And the production design of this movie just feels like we're back on the Nostromo, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks
Alvarez says that he
exactly
got
the
to
same.
walk around on a physical, practical Weyland-Yutani designed ship interior from Ron Cobb's designs from the first film. Alvarez says that he tried not to use green screens and really just tried to use miniatures and practical sets wherever he could, but the result is just this classic, cramped, claustrophobic.
I just feel like nowadays they have this, it's like a bubble, I think is what it is. It's I know The Mandalorian used this in their show. A lot of new shows do this, but they have like this bubble. Instead of a green screen, they have a bubble and has like the exact lighting that they need and the background that they need so they feel like they're in it. But it just doesn't work as good as like practical shit like this. Like it just looks so good when you have real stuff in front of you just like this. I just wish more movies would do this, especially like with like I don't know, like kind of like some puppets kind of stuff. I know CGI, but it just CGI kind of takes you out of the movie sometimes. It's just not that good.
Phobic feel, where these lower levels wouldn't have
Some of them, when they
windows.
do it
Why
good
would
though,
they
they
have
do it good.
windows?
Like
It just feels like
most of the Avengers movies, like they do it perfectly good.
haunted house. Now, if you played the 2014 game Alien Isolation, you play as Amanda Ripley, Ripley's daughter, 15 years after the events of the original film, and the vibe of this trailer may remind you of that game, because this film is set in roughly the same time period. These colonists are the first generation Weyland-Yutani crew persons who just didn't know what they were getting into. Now, at first, we don't see any of the characters, we just see the aftermath. We are too late to help anybody. We hear a female voice gasping, "Help! Someone help me, please!" A male voice shouts, "No, no, I don't know what it is!" A female voice begs, "Get it away from me!" And then the male voice shouts, "Open the door!" And then over shots of an open cryopod completely soaked in blood, we hear the sound of a xenomorph and a scream. Hey, Easter's gonna be here soon, and if you want the eggs you're hiding to be full of treats that are sure to please, then you should get some jelly beans from the jelly bean plant. The one on the right is just drenched in blood, but the one on the left is clean on the inside, but some bloody marks on the outside. Like there was an attack in one, and then someone who is bloodied up from that attack is just trying to get help from the person in the next pod over. But all this might just be set up for the visual. I actually think what we are hearing from the actors is coming from a completely different scene, and this shot right here might have just been composed for the teaser. In his Hollywood Reporter interview, Alvarez confirmed that the voice we are hearing is that of Isabella Merced's character. She's playing someone named Kay. And Isabella Merced said that she watched what happens in this particular scene on an iPad during reshoots, and that it was so disgusting that the people watching over her shoulder had to turn away in horror. Alvarez said that we will be seeing something in this moment that has never happened in any Alien movie or in the history of movies in science fiction. Something that he says rivals the chestburster scene of the 1979 film. That, by the way, is a high bar, my friend. Alvarez says that his test would be to look at the face of the boom mic operator when they were filming this moment, because boom mic operators are one of the few crew members who don't really see the script ahead of time. So, Jesus, Alvarez, what the are you referring to? I actually had a pretty disturbing Slack conversation with some New Rockstars team members, including Gina, Berg, and Drew about this. And
What does that say? Someone
conversation with some New Rockstars team
enter the butt hugger. I was thinking the face hugger being pulled out, but taking the innards with it, turning the person inside out. Ugh! Oh, like they tried to pull it out prematurely and it latches onto whatever it can. Ugh! That. Oh my God! Can you imagine? They're basically when you see them come out, that shit that's coming out of their mouth. Ugh. That would be attached to like their intestines or their lungs or something, and it just pulls. Oh my God!
About this, and while the history of deaths in the Alien and technically connected Predator universe, and in the history of all sci-fi and horror deaths in film history, that covers a lot of ground, folks. But there is one possibility for what this could be, and if you parse through their words, you can kind of figure it out. Because remember, these are early colonists who do not know what xenomorphs or facehuggers are or what they do to people. So with major ignorance to their anatomy and their function, keep that in mind. And for Alvarez to mention the boom mic person, and for Merced to be watching back the completed shot on an iPad during reshoots before the movie was fully wrapped, means that there would be no VFX work on this shot. It would have to be an effect that could be done practically on the day, where it would have required sound from the actors there on set reacting to whatever this practical stunt was. The way John Hurt's death in the 1979 Alien was practical, with a prosthetic torso.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Practical stuff just makes things so much better. Like this scene is a classic ass scene. But why? Because it's practical. Imagine if this was CGI. Nobody would blink an eye towards it. I mean, it does look fucking crazy, but the reason why it's fucking crazy is because it looks real. Like, more movies need to be doing this stuff.
Bursting out of little cannons on the actors, and a little puppet chest burster, and they set up cameras and microphones to capture Veronica Cartwright's authentic reactions. Alvarez also
I was about to say, like, none of them knew that was going to happen, so all the reactions in that here. I gotta play this scene. Hold on. I suppose stomach. Yeah, I heard like nobody here knew that this was actually going to happen. And, like the director wanted their actual live reactions on what the fuck just happened.
The first thing that I'm going to do when I get back is to get some decent food.
I can dig it, man. I'm telling you, I've eaten birch fruit and this, but then it tastes better, you know what I'm saying?
You pound down the stuff like this.
Listen, I'd rather be eating something else, but right now I'm thinking of food.
You should know, you know what it's made of.
No, man. I don't want to talk about what it's made of. I'm eating this.
Ugh.
What's the matter? The food ain't that bad, baby.
Well, it's not the food.
What's wrong?
They all just stop for a second. Here it comes.
Oh, God!
No, no, don't touch it! Don't touch it!
Look how it fucking scurries off. Ugh. Oh my god. See, if that was CGI, it would not be the same.
Said in the interview that he got the original effects team from Stan Winston's studio, who worked on the 1986 film, who were in their 20s then, but now would be in their 50s or 60s, really. So we're talking about some gross out practical effect that we've never seen in a movie before. So we've seen chest explosions and implosions from Alien in The Thing.
Oh,
We
yeah,
saw
with
Pedro
the stomach
Pascal's
closing.
head
Oh.
implode in Game of Thrones. We saw heads explode in The Boys. We've seen limb dismemberment in plenty of films. Aliens showed Bishop getting ripped in half. We've seen faces, chest, shoulders, and arms eroded by corrosive substances like Tom Cruise in Edge of Tomorrow. We've seen human centipedes, for crying out loud.
Oh, that
And
movie's
Romulus
horrible.
isn't going to be NC-17, so there wouldn't be anything like downstairs. So we deduced from all of this that we are going to see something like a facehugger latch onto Isabella Merced's face, for the tube of that facehugger to plunge down her throat, and for these other colonists, not knowing what this thing is, will instinctively just try to yank it off. But this facehugger will latch onto whatever it can inside of her, and her oral cavity and her head and throat will be turned inside out, and the skull will implode. This is a bloody practical effect
Oh
that would
my
only be
God.
accomplishable with a prop version of Isabella Merced's chest and her head and her throat that could be swapped in for an insert shot. I actually think we see part of this scene later in the trailer very briefly. There is a shot of a facehugger's oral tentacle beginning to slide out of a mouth, which is something that I don't think we'd ever get to, right? It would just lay its genetic material inside of you, and then it would just fall off when they weren't looking. So someone is trying to pull this off of someone, and I think it's the first part of what this all-time gross out moment will be. Okay, let's move on to the rest
I
of the
hope
trailer.
it's practical.
Okay, we see more of the cast here. It stars Kaylee Spiani as Rain Carradine. Kaylee's having a pretty big year as Priscilla Presley from Priscilla, and she's
Oh,
going
that
to
was
be in
her.
Alex Garland's Civil War film next month. David Johnson as Andy, Isabella Merced as Kay, and then there's Archie Renault, Spike Fern, and Aileen Wu
I don't know.
as
I
other
don't know
crew
any of this
persons.
about the
We
other
see
two girls. One of them
facehuggers
was
bursting
in
through her
the
hatch, but I think
Transformers
the even
movie.
creepier detail of the shot are the various facehugger legs that are wriggling through the crack of the door. About a half dozen of them
Ugh.
swarm through, and one
Just
leaps
reminds
on
me
this
of
crew
spiders,
person in
and
the
I
foreground,
fucking
who,
hate
if you look
spiders.
closely, is wearing a flamethrower pack. We see some yellow warning lights flashing through this dark graded corridor, reminding us of the Nostromo self-destruction
Yeah.
sequence from the first film. And then Rain and Spike Fern's character run down this curved hall, tossing flares. And then we follow Aileen Wu's shaved head as she marches through the ship, seemingly unafraid. The yellow lights flash past Andy, who wears a jumpsuit with a Wayland Yutani patch. But there's something about the way he's standing and how we heard his voice saying, "Hollow Lee, run." Could Andy be an android? He has the same posture as Ian Holm as Ash. And depending on how close we are between the first film and the second film, Andy, the android, might have had
That
the
makes
same
sense.
faulty programming that Ash had, because remember in Aliens, Bishop talked about the past models.
Yep.
Was it an older model?
Yeah, the Hyperdyne system's 128.2.
Well, that explains it, and the A2s always were a bit twitchy. That could never happen now with our behavioral inhibitors.
And yes, by the way, James Cameron did write the word Hyperdyne as a nod to the AI robotics company of Cyberdyne in his Terminator films. But then there's this shot of characters floating in zero gravity, wearing suits similar in design to the ones worn by the Nostromo crew in the 1979 film. So I think the entire space station is just going to collapse and fall apart, because at 44 seconds we see the structure bay exploding as the shuttle departs it. But then there's this very quick shot of, I think that's Rain, dragging across the deck someone else who's incapacitated. And then over this hatch, I think are my favorite details of this trailer. These two symbols are what's called semiotic standard. It's a series of in-universe symbols used in space travel developed by designer Ron Cobb for the first Alien film, because he just kind of concluded while he was doing world building for this world that, you know, they would develop their own kind of like color guard for how to communicate with each other, especially if many of these crew persons are speaking different languages. And this semiotic standard has shown up in sci-fi production design everywhere in sci-fi and films after this, because all these production designers love what Ron Cobb did in Alien. So you can see it in the background of the Sam Rockwell film Moon. You can see it even in season 2 of Marvel's Loki, outside the Loom observation deck, X-Men themed shutter doors. So these particular symbols actually have a translation. The one on the left translates to hazard/warning, and then on the right, that stands for bridge. It's just so cool to see Ron Cobb's design reflected, but then again, it wouldn't feel like a proper Alien film without these. So Alien Wu's character turns back just in time for a face hugger to grab her face. There's another character behind her, like limping toward her, while in the background by the door, someone is writhing on the floor. Maybe that's Isabella Merced's character, but it looks like Andy is trying to operate the door control panel. Notice that the face huggers do not go for him. It's just another clue that Andy might be a robot. Okay, on to the final part.
Is she supposed to be like the main girl?
Okay, we in this trailer with a shot of Rain that is totally meant to evoke Ripley in Aliens, when she takes the elevator down to the lower levels to rescue Newt from the alien queen. Rain carries this pulse rifle. It's similar to the M41A pulse rifles that we saw in Aliens, at least with the light up display showing how many rounds are left, but it is not exactly the M41A. It's like a variant of it. I don't know, maybe it's like an M41B or like an M40 or an M39 or something like that. But Rain looks up suddenly, and we cut to a close-up of a xenomorph Jaws with the silver teeth and its inner puncturing mouth shooting out. It's exactly what Ripley and even Parker have gotten sad close-ups of. But obviously this is taken from a completely different shot.
That the teeth
it's just
were
like a
silver.
fun jump
Like
scare
that's
to end the
chrome
trailer
type of
with.
silver.
Now,
The other
according
one,
to Fede
like
Alvarez, both Ridley Scott and James Cameron have seen a cut of this movie and they both loved it, but they had like very different notes. I don't know, maybe Alvarez just really wants to sell us that this movie, originally planned to be a Hulu release, is something with the stamp of approval from two of the best working directors of all time. But you know what? I didn't even need to hear that. Based on this trailer and that there's semiotic standard in it, I'm in. I'm sold. I can't wait to see this movie. Comment down below with your thoughts on this trailer. Follow me at EABoss. Subscribe to all three channels in the New Rock.
Good ass video, New Rockstar. Like always. Like always.